Here we go on the next day. It's Chase Gick with Divorce to Dominance again. Welcome back. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this up. Probably won't be daily, but it'll be pretty close because I'm trying to work out 6 days a week anyway. So, like I said before, if I can mix this all together, it just makes sense. And that way I'm not trying to do 2 and 3 things that are honestly just coming out to the same one in-game goal. You just got to kind of prioritize things and make things a little more efficient. This is what I'm doing. So, having said that, sticking with the whole not sitting down at a desk, a whole separate event, and being able to actually pass on information, here we are again in the garage. So the 2 biggest things, just to recap, because this is only video 2, and the restart, is just helping my past self with the information that I couldn't find available on the internet or on YouTube in general. Nobody seemed to be talking specifically to men about divorce and how to get through it. So I figured I'll fill that gap the best I can. So if there's any questions or anything else, shoot them on here, put them in the comments. Doesn't matter what it is. Ultimately, I really don't care either way. Soon enough, I'll be setting up my email. Actually, I think I'll set it up after this video today. So it's actually at chase@divorcetodominance.com or at gmail.com, sorry. So if someone wants to send me that, I'll try to put the link in here. But ultimately, yeah, that's about it. So after that first video, just to show what we're starting off with, is I skipped the shoulders. So that was that. So that's why I'm picking up right here. So that shows you that we're very next day doing that. Just doing a little bit of a warm up here, trying to get my rotator cuffs warm and everything else. I've been moving around a lot today. We're construction, electrician, so I'm moving around a lot, but I also wasn't lifting much weight. So try to prime everything, get it going. But from there, let's go back to the whole what I didn't know when I needed it. So I think I left off the last video talking about the anchor and how sometimes, it's harder than others to find that anchor. But also, it was the key thing that got me through each day in those early stages. I didn't know that was it right away, but as I became clear that that's what I needed and that's what I was doing, it helped me understand. So back to that, I think I ended it again. Sorry, I'm kind of all over. But I think I remember ending that on sometimes the anchor itself, it's hard to tie. Yes, it's hard to tie to because it's your skills, it's your knowledge, it's your past, it's your experiences that allow you to tie yourself to that anchor so you don't go astray and you end up in a bad place ultimately. So from there, I was on a path because, like I said, I was up late every night. I sometimes wouldn't go to bed. Sometimes I'd do whatever it took to make sure I didn't get lost in that downward spiral because I wasn't allowed. The downward spiral not being allowed was not, again, a thing that I knew in the early stages. It was just something I was doing. And later on, I was able to verbalize and write down and actually go deep within to see that that's what was happening. And now I've placed a statement on top of that. But that's something I had to build. It took time. So that's something that hopefully, had I known that at the beginning, that could really, really expedite a lot of things. So, that's important to label these things and be able to, speak them into reality. But yeah, so that was it. So some of my biggest skills, like I said, was the working out, cleaning things, trying to get through movement activity. And once I did that, that was my first, rope that I was able to tie to that anchor of tomorrow. And, which was ultimately my kids at that time, being there for them. But as I did that daily, nightly, that was my lanyard, my rope, to make sure that I got through. I did said thing. So cleaned everything, worked out, did whatever to get through it. From there, when I realized that the working out was really going to be a big thing for me, the physical change that happens in the body does incredible things to your mind. It's something that when people talk about, oh, you can change, you can do this, you can do that. When you do it physically, what's amazing is you actually see it in the mirror. You see the results from the effort put in and the time put in. So there's a very real connection there, which was one of the main reasons that I was able to dive into that. When I realized that, I knew this was number one. This was the one thing that I was going to dive into heavy. I have a background in fitness. I've trained people in person a lot and online. And I still do that. It's something I've stepped back into, but that's, again, not for right now. But for there, what it did was when I realized that was my lanyard, I had to build that skill on a deeper level. Not so much, because originally it was just, pick things up, put it down. I had the basic information that most people had. I was NASM certified, so I was a certified personal trainer. But honestly, that stuff really didn't do a lot. It was just, hey, you read this book. Hey, you understand how the body moves. That's kind of it. So I really went in deep into, okay, what the hell am I doing? I'm out here. What the hell's going on? If I want to see a real transformation, it's up to me. It's up to nobody else. I'm not just going to lay here and somebody's going to come do the work for me. The body, the muscles aren't going to build. The fat's not going to go away. The aesthetically pleasing physique that, what at the time I wasn't thinking about, but, future-wise, that the future woman would want to see on me, that, would attract the woman I want. I didn't want the woman that wanted a sloppy man that was weak and pathetic, honestly. So goal one was to work on myself. And that meant physically. And because my initial, revelation pretty much is what it was understanding that movement, action, massive action, taking it, physically moving, not laying in bed, not, sitting in a corner, crying yourself into some horrible situation, whether it's in bed or even worse thoughts. But that's what I was doing at times. And I knew that the massive action, getting up and physically moving, was the thing. And now fitness was that. So I want to know, how do you do this the best? How do you do this the quickest? How do you do this? So from there, everything became more, pointed. Everything had an actual, end game goal. Everything had an outcome that I was shooting for. Now, again, kind of going back to the same thing. I didn't know what I was technically shooting. I didn't know what the kind of arrow I was shooting for an example. I just knew that where the target was, and I was just going to start grabbing things that I thought could fly down, that could get me to that target, I guess. And, one of the biggest ones was how to truly build muscle, how to eat the proper way to do that, and all those things. So one of them was the workout routines. Now, quick side note. In the fitness space, people want to tell you how they're right and everybody else is wrong. You'll find that out super quick. So, knocked off the stuff. Pay better attention. Knocked off my. Pay better attention. I knocked off the microphone. Hat's kind of getting in the way. Well, anyways, back to that. Well, where I was getting at there with that was that everyone thinks they know it all. Everyone's going to tell you how they're right, and how everyone else is wrong. And the popular thing to do is to cast stones at somebody else because it gets attention. Blah blah blah. All the random crap that nobody cares about, but everyone gets triggered by. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're watching this page, chances are you're a slave to being triggered by certain things that you may not even realize yet, but you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ended up in this position, just like me. I know that now. So people want to talk shit about everybody else. That's what it comes down to. And they try to steal their viewers, and they try to sell them on their concept and all that garbage. What it really comes down to is when it came to the fitness side, to get me through my days, I realized real quick that one of the best questions I could ask was, compared to what? Like when somebody said, this is the best thing to do, I thought, what? Well, compared to what? What are they talking about? What are they doing? Well, they would more often than not just have somebody else's fitness plan, somebody else's routine, talk about how it sucked. Now this is dumb and that's dumb. And all I would think is, boy, there has to be at least 100 other videos doing the exact same thing you're doing, but from somebody else's information or even yours. So from that perspective, it means that everybody's wrong. Everybody's crap's garbage. So I started to realize that pretty quick, that you gotta sift through a lot of garbage, man. You gotta just sift through all of it, and it sucks. Hopefully, you can stumble across something that has good information, that's not jaded, that's not, for a different outcome, that's not trying to sell you all their crap. So, a lot of people sell really, 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 really good stuff. It's just that most of them don't. So hopefully at some point you can come across things that are just legit. That's, again, going back to what I said, this is why I'm creating this page. That's why I'm creating this channel. Because that way, hopefully, you don't have to sift through, hopefully, any by the time it's done or as it's growing, because people come on and talk about where they're at. But honestly, hopefully it at least cuts down the noise. Hopefully it allows you a path that's got a little bit more direction, and what will cut your time down of recovery from the divorce and resetting yourself up in a massive way. Cut it at least in half, because usually, statistics show it's about 2 to going on 3 years before your average man can get his life, quote unquote, back on track. And that's kind of up for interpretation, honestly. But I'm hoping to cut that down to a year. I'm really, really confident with the few that I've helped so far. We've gotten it down to that, but it'd be really, really awesome to get it down even shorter. But the reality is nothing comes easy, nothing comes quick. It can come quicker, but just not extremely fast. So anyways, but I was noticing that in that fitness space, and that was also what I started to really, again, I was trying to find things that applied to multiple spaces. And that was one of the big things in this early days of divorce that helped me as well, was realizing that, I can apply that to anything. I can apply all of it. The saying of compared to what, to almost anything and everything. So when I'd have my down moments or in these early stages of divorce, and when I was trying to keep my mind occupied in activities for myself, there would be times that would creep up. I bet this is happening, or I would just get these random thoughts. And anyways, that was a line that came to me, compared to what? Compared to what, when I heard some information that made me feel a way. So I was very consistent on doing that and recognizing it. I needed to make sure that if I felt good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, I said compared to what? So one of the biggest things too in that compared to what statement was the anchoring point, which I knew was when an emotion crept up, when something triggered an emotion. Like I said, it didn't have to be a certain emotion, it just had to be an emotion. I had to stop, pattern interrupt, which we'll talk about more even later, but I had to pattern interrupt the immediate emotional response or reaction and say, recognize the feeling, recognize the emotion, and say, what the hell's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? What has made me feel this way? So when I did that, it just gave me so much more clarity. One thing I think is worth saying too at this moment is that this isn't brand new information. Maybe in this space, technically, because no one talks directly to divorced men in this way. But I think it's because a lot of them either haven't gone through it or they're lying to themselves and they're trying to, sell you the lottery ticket. But in reality, everyone says this kind of crap. But forgets to say how in the beginning, when you were doing this, you felt like a fucking weirdo, dude. You're talking to yourself. You're running through the information over and over and over and over. You're looping through it. You're listening to the same podcast. You're going to the same mentors. You're buying these courses, blah, blah, whatever it may be. And you feel like an idiot. You feel like a psycho. You feel like you're doing something wrong. You feel like there's no way this can work. Like you're missing information. You're not. You're not missing information. And it does work. The problem is that no one tells you that you feel this way in the beginning because it's different. It's just different. That's all there is to it. Different never feels amazing in the sense of, the clear path. Because again, emotions get in the way. So that's it. That's really the biggest thing, is just understanding when the emotions come up, no matter what they are, taking a moment to feel it, understand it, talk your way through it. Why do I feel this way? And before long, it'll become the habit. And some of them will become a habit quicker than others. Others will take, honestly, some of I do to this day. And I'm, multiple years past my divorce. I still have to have a very, very conscious effort to do that. I'll have to sometimes, again, to spark the massive, I'll have to stand up and say something out loud, like, I'll have to say the words compared to what, or say, why am I feeling this way? Or how did that make me do that? What did it do to make me feel this way? So that's not just videos and everything. Hell, it's interactions with my ex-wife. It's interactions with the kids, it's interactions with friends of the ex-wife. It's interaction with friends of mine, friends of both of ours. Just all that. All of these moments are times that I'm doing that. Again, a lot of it happens subconsciously because it's been long enough. But just know you're going to feel weird in the beginning. But that really is a massive, massive step too. Once you've figured out anchors to get you through the night, to work towards the next day, and then figuring out what your rope that you can tie yourself to that anchor is, which is a skill, which is a thing that you're interested in, an activity, movement, massive action. All those are the rope. And as you're doing that, and as you're starting to realize that some are better than others, dive deep into it. Start getting into it. Become obsessed. Like really. A lot of people hate that word. A lot of people think it's gross or it means something else or it's an evil thing. It's not, man. Become obsessed. Become obsessed with yourself and your growth. Become obsessed with your future. People told me along the way, like, oh, be careful because, it's a slippery slope. No, it's not. Not if you got your goals set. And, that takes time to do. I'm not going to sit here and act like you should know that the very next day, but you should be working towards that. And that's one of the very first things I help, some of the local people that I've helped. It's just that we start to build who we are and what we're heading towards. What's that target? And that begins with becoming obsessed with you because you are the only thing that can help the others around. So, the old, you've heard it a million times in different places and different spaces, but you can't pour into anybody else's cup unless your cup is completely full and overflowing. So, anyways, yeah, just get obsessed with what it is you're doing. Start diving deep. Start understanding try to become the master. Try to become the top of the top within that space. I mean, maybe you can't, but don't stop striving to. Just learn. Help yourself get through these nights and get through these early days. Because again, it's huge, absolutely massive. So in that, man, try not to go down too far of a fitness route because I want to stick on the divorce side. But man, it's huge. It's such a mover, mass mover. It really is. Fitness was the thing that helped get my mind right in the early stages. It wasn't, hey, I had to get my mind right, then I did fitness. It wasn't fitness, then I got my mind right. It was literally, they were in a race back and forth over and over and over. And looking back, I see that so clearly now. And I'm thankful that I know that now. But yeah, that was one of the biggest things. Another one of them was you know, so yeah. Another thing was I wasn't just so obsessed with just fitness to where it consumed my all day, every day, because I still had to function within work. I still had to function within the reality of my current situation, which was my life. I had kids. I had an ex-wife. At this point, I'm still like, I'm starting to look at houses. I'm trying to figure that stage out because it's all money. It's all time. A lot of times you don't have a lot of, or any of for that matter. But I was starting to do all that too. And so I dove into every one of these things. Like when it came to the house thing, I dove into, okay, what's the best situation for my current situation? How do I leverage money to get a house that can do everything I need to do for my family at that current state? Was it even a house? Was it an apartment? Was it a duplex? I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. Hell, for all I knew, at one point I was even looking at just buying some raw land and finding a mobile home or trailer and putting it on there, and that was it. That's what I was going to do for a little bit, because cost effectiveness wise, I knew I wanted a house and I wanted to build one, and I needed land to build one. So I thought that at that time, maybe that's the route to go. I didn't go that route, ultimately, spoiler alert. But we can talk through those kinds of things too, of how close I was to actually doing that, how I got obsessed with how I was going to buy a house, and each path. I got obsessed with each path too. Like, okay, is it apartment? What's the pros, cons, pros, pro, con, and then coming up with that and what was inevitably not the answer. Same with the land. How did that benefit me? How did it not? What did I know about myself that led me to say I don't want to live in a trailer on some land? And ultimately, how could I buy a house and put myself in the absolute best situation while leveraging every single dollar? Which is ultimately where I landed. But I'm doing all this also while I'm living at home with my mom. Like, don't ever forget that in this moment. Like, I'm pulling in to my mom's driveway in my 30s with 3 kids and knocking on the door to see if I can sleep. She said, of course, she's my mom. She's always been there for me. She always will be. And I know not everybody has that option. Not everybody does, but you probably have somebody or something. Which again, I slept in my truck a lot of nights too because I couldn't even drag myself to walk in there. But having said that, like, this is where it became. It's like I'm definitely not going out and dating, which a lot of people make that mistake. They find themselves wanting to go out and meet somebody right away. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Bring them back to your car? Bring them back to your mom's house? No, thanks. No, thanks. I knew I wanted to focus on me. Again, that target down the road. So that was it. So those were the things. That was this part of the next area of the journey, was getting obsessed with whatever the thing was, whatever the rope was to get me to that next layer. The next layer, to tomorrow. I mean, to that anchor point, which was tomorrow. And that's just what it was. So that was it. So those were my key points. I got obsessed with them and I got them. And until it made sense and I got each one or two, maybe 3 at most I was working on all at the same time, which you're talking about your personal development, you're talking about your physical, and I'm talking about, homes at this point. So there's 3. Personal and physical kind of go one in one, or hand in hand. So it's almost just 2. Personal development all the way around and my home. And I just got grotesquely obsessed with them. And that's where I went. I dove deep. I paid for mentorships. I got involved with multifamily real estate people. I got involved with single home real estate, all that stuff. And I tried to figure it all out. and do what I could to, help myself and my kids and get in the best situation possible after this divorce, because they needed me, and that was part of my anchor situation as well. So that's what see how this kind of loops back and forth to itself. Anchor, lanyard, and extreme obsessiveness, all packaged in, making sure that I was selfish, to be honest. I was focusing on me so my world around me could be better. I had to become better before my world could. This was not easy. Again, I don't want to gloss over that part. It's not easy. Every day was not obvious. As I'm speaking now, which is honestly all over the place, somewhat concise, I didn't even have this. I didn't even know what this was. It was just daily actions. But one quick side note, like I said in the beginning, is I left off, yesterday doing chest, which was not what I was supposed to be doing. So I started with shoulders. So in between there, now I'm stepping into what is my next layer. And again, actually I'll start this at the end of it when I cut off everything else and do that. But to sum up everything I already talked about is just, again, going back to the anchor, going back to the lanyard, going back to becoming obsessed. The anchor was my tomorrow. It was my kids. It was my body, making sure that I was better. I needed to see tomorrow to even see if it worked. I needed to see tomorrow to be there for my kids. I needed to use the skills to get to tomorrow. My skills were none at first. Then I grew a couple. Fitness was one of the biggest ones. I started to dive heavily into that, getting obsessed with my body, with myself, and becoming the best person I could be for the future, for my kids. And hopefully become the man that I needed back then, and I could ultimately make this video be here to give him to the world. A lot of steps in between there, though. But that's where I was, man. I was, again, because it's worth saying every single time. It does not come easy. It's not overnight. It's not even in one day or even 1 week. I mean, some of the pieces might come together in a month or so. In the early stages, though, man, it's a grind. It's a daily grind. You need somebody that's gone through it, and you need to talk to people who've gone through it. And that's hopefully, again, these videos can serve as that, or even, again, my email will be on here. If you want to shoot me a message and let's talk. It's all good. But let's go into the fitness side of things, because I'm going to try to split these in half. That I think is what I'm going to shoot for. Is doing first part of just like thoughts of getting through things, and then on the second half going to fitness, because it coincides with these early stages anyways, is getting yourself put together. So let's just start talking about that a little more. Okay, well, number one, there's these weird little stop, start, goes in this thing. So I'm still using my phone. Thought I was going to have the camera set up. I got the camera ready. And then I realized that, as we all do, I wasn't prepared. I didn't get obsessed yet with this part. I'm slowly building a list. But I didn't have a microphone. I've got the microphone for the phone right here. Otherwise, it's all echoey and it sounds like crap because I'm trying to talk all over there. But I didn't have one for the actual camera. So I can only record so much at a time because my phone only has so much memory space. So anyways, these will start to get put together better. But having said that, the fitness side. So we started with shoulder press. Let me just pick you up here and come back over here. So we're just doing shoulder press a minute ago. And again, because I'll try to pop over here and we'll explain this chart one day too. Right now, it's not super important. It's just kind of what I'm doing as a roundabout. But yesterday, so you see where when I did chest right there, that was not supposed to be. I was supposed to be doing this because it's number 1 right there. So I tried to do 1, 1, 1, 1 first. And I moved over to the 2s and then the 3s because that's order of importance, which again, we'll get to later. But right now I already did the overhead presses, which, Big movement is what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to move on to quads, which you saw me warming up. But that one right there is what I'm going to do because it is movement number 1, or number 2, I'm sorry. And that's where we're at now. So that's what I'm doing. So going back to what we had talked about before with the fitness side of things, one of the biggest things is on the fitness side is cutting through all the noise. Most of it's garbage. Most of it's crap. Actually, you know what? Let me stop. Let me stop right there. Again, compared to what? It's not garbage. It's not crap. It's the way it's being portrayed. Is that somebody's trying to do it a certain way to elicit an emotion in you, to try to convince you that they are right at the end of the day. I'm right, they're wrong, so listen to me, which ultimately 99% of the time is. And since I'm right and they're wrong, now here's my link to buy my crap. Cool, dude. So that's usually what it is. So once you've realized that, it's a lot easier to navigate. So from there, the reason I do the workout that I do is only because this is the workout I wasn't doing before. So when somebody says, what's the best workout to do, when they ask me, a lot of my clients that I'm training, whether it be in person or online, or even some of the clients that I have personally, just I talk to, once a week or once daily, some of the more personal stuff, is they ask, well, what should I be doing? One of the first questions I ask them is, well, what are you doing right now? And then they tell me, and my next question, how long have you been doing that? They tell me. Typically, my answer is just, okay, well, what you should be doing is not what you are doing, if it's long enough. Okay, well, guys, I'm just going to finish this up real quick. Ultimately, I'm doing squats, and that's going to be where I head next. Let me try to go through this quick. So I'm screwing up because I'm on my phone. I don't have the other camera ready like I covered before. So I'm running out of space on my phone. So I'm going to do the squats, and then, quads. And then from there, I'm going to move on to what looks like probably, well, let me go back. I'm going to start doing, front delts, glutes, hams, and